If you've ever been stressed out as an entrepreneur, today's conversation is directly targeted towards you because I want to give you a sense of relief. But before I do that, here is some food for thought from a statistical perspective for you to consider. According to the Canadian Mental Health Association, British Columbia Division, nearly two-thirds of entrepreneurs at a rate of 62% feel depressed or stressed at least once a week. Meanwhile, nearly half at 46% say that their mental health is affecting their ability to work efficiently and cohesively. Well, my friend, it's time to give you a solution to this very troubling trend. Let's take a moment to examine the concept of sound healing. It's an ancient wellness practice for healing, relaxation, and self-care. A sound healing session typically involves a cozy setting, closing of eyes, and focusing on sounds made from musical instruments, such as chimes, gongs, and singing bowls. It's becoming a more popular practice. More scientists in the field are recognizing sound healing as a respected therapeutic practice, while more research is certainly needed on its effectiveness and viability. More and more people are using it as a form of effective alternative health. That's good news for my friend Mike Reed. He's the founder of Sound Quest Academy, where he empowers sound healers to build thriving businesses from their passions with a background in music, personal development, and shamanic practices. Mike has led thousands of people through sound healing sessions worldwide while blending his experience in musicianship, spiritual healing, and through it all, he's dedicated to teaching dedicated sound healers through his programs, including the Sound Healer Blueprint and the Sound Healer Mastermind. And he joined me this week to tell me more. I'm Kevin McShann. Let's have this conversation. Mike, if you're ready, I'll take a moment to welcome you to the program. And I'm super excited to hear all about sound healing, my friend, and how you're helping people start businesses by using the practice, my friend. Great to see you, and what's today? Happy Friday to you, my friend. It's a time for a victory lap. We've made it to Friday, so happy Friday to you, my friend.
Yeah, thank you. It's also closing in on the end of 2024. So yeah, just been reflecting on the year and taking some time to pause.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's start there, my friend. As you know, reflection is a big part of personal growth and renewal, my friend. So tell me, what have you been most self-reflective about, my friend?
As of lately, I think I'm reflecting on attachment and things that find myself attaching to maybe too much. I feel like some sort of divine messenger kind of came into my being this week and gave me a download of wisdom around attachment. And I'm just sort of like starting to explore like a lot of suffering, emotional suffering, and things that I'm not going to speak for everyone. I'm not going to say the word you. I'll use I language because I'm just going to reflect on my own lived experience. Is that anything that I attach myself to, I find there's the potential for internal suffering, right? And attaching myself to worry about the future or regret of the past or anything like that, or attaching myself to things in my business or relationships. Just a little bit more detachment is something that I've been reflecting on. Not detachment to the point of aloofness, but just a nice balance of detachment and also compassion as well.
Yeah, it's certainly important to be mindful of the contributions we've made in the world, but it's also important to fill our own social and emotional cup, isn't it, Mike?
Yeah. Yes.
Absolutely, my friend. So tell me, my friend, about SoundQuest Academy, my friend, where you help sound healers build thriving businesses based on their passion, my friend. Tell me, why is this your passion and your purpose, and how is it making a difference in the world, my friend?
Yeah, I love what I'm doing. What I'm seeing, the results come out of SoundQuest Academy. I'm loving this journey. So what it is basically I started on sound healing maybe 2016 is when I first started diving in, and I've created this academy because this is what I wish that I had when I first started out as a sound healer. This is everything that I've learned over the years condensed into a course called the Sound Healer Blueprint. And I also have a year-long Sound Healer Mastermind program as well inside the academy. But the Sound Healer Blueprint course is start to finish everything that one would need to know to learn the art, the practice, the science, the application, the techniques of sound healing, but also how to turn that into what they can do for a living, or even just as something they can do to create a secondary income stream if they want to stay at their current career or place of employment or anything like that. Sound healing is becoming a very popular healing modality in the wellness industry. And I see a lot of things like certification programs out there. I see people who offer these courses on sound healing, but there's not really anything out there that goes into the depth that I go into inside these courses on how to turn this into what you do for a living that matches and exceeds your income or your expenses, your lifestyle costs, right? And so I've created this model that sound healers can follow and apply in their practice that's going to match and exceed whatever they need to make a living beyond their living expenses and lifestyle costs.
Yeah, so Mike, let's dive into what exactly sound healing is. And I know that you have a background in personal development and music, my friend. And tell me, how are those two things interconnected to sound healing? And explain to the audience, if you would, exactly what the practice of sound healing is and why it's so gaining so much more popularity. What are your thoughts there?
Right. So I'll start with a brief explanation about how sound healing works, and then maybe I can touch in on my own journey and my own background and story of how it got me into this in the first place. So when one receives a sound bath or sound healing experience using particular instruments such as gongs, crystal singing bowls, ocean drum, harmonium, chimes, there's all kinds of different instruments that can be used for sound healing. But there's instruments like the gongs and the didgeridoos. And what they do is they emanate the full spectrum of sound of the human hearing range. So the human hearing range is 20 hertz to 20,000 hertz or thereabouts. And when the full spectrum of sound and vibration, frequency, overtones, and everything is coming in and resonating and entraining with the brain waves, then the brain waves tend to slow down. And when we're in our waking consciousness, like we are right now, you're in what's called the beta brainwave. And what we're trying to do in sound healing is slow the brain waves down to that theta delta brainwave zone, which is another way of saying meditation or sleep. So when you're on the receiving end of the full spectrum of sound, the mind can't grasp onto all the stimuli that's coming in. And so therefore the brainwaves slow down and bring you down into this almost involuntary state of meditation. And that's where the body's systems, such as the parasympathetic nervous system, the rest and digest state of the nervous system, where you can fully let go and the body returns itself to all kinds of self-healing processes. So homeostasis, it's called. And you come out of this experience feeling very restored, centered, balanced, calm, peaceful, and renewed. And so I think the reason why it's becoming so popular is because people are realizing all they have to do is lie down and receive this experience, and it's going to bring them to that place of wholeness that they're looking for. It completely takes away the stress, the feelings of any kind of irritability, jammed in, discontent feelings, anything like that. It dissipates that. It helps the nervous system. It helps the immune system. It helps people achieve deeper sleep. It brings a peace and balance to one's being so that they can live their lives from that place of more creativity rather than reactivity to external stimuli. Right? So there's a lot of benefits to sound healing, and I think people love it because it has that amazing impact, and you don't have to do much to achieve that result. You just basically lie down and do nothing and let the sound and vibration do all the work. So that's why I think it's becoming more and more popular out there in the world.
Yeah, absolutely. And tell me, Mike, I know that music plays a big role in your life, and one of the big reasons why you got into this in the first place, my friend. So tell me about the role music plays in the sound healing process and your personal journey with this practice as well. Tell me more about it.
Right. So my journey with this, yeah, I do have a musical background that goes way back to when I was a child. So I started playing music at around the age 6, 7. And that went from piano to guitar to playing the drums, playing in bands. And there's been a common theme throughout my life, which is music. It's not to say that you need to be musical or a musician to do sound healing and practice sound healing. A lot of these instruments that are used don't require a lot of musical skill, but they do require a certain level of ability and technique, like playing the gongs and the singing bowls. But my background, yeah, I do have a musical background which, blends into my signature style as a sound healing facilitator, because I'm able to play a variety of different musical instruments and bring musicality into the soundscape. But my life basically, my life's resume is pretty random, if I'm honest. I've done a lot of different things for work in my background. And about, let's say, 10, 12 years ago, I was kind of falling on my face in my life a lot. Like I was failing a lot at my things I was doing for work, things I was doing in relationships, and things I was doing, I wasn't being nice to myself in terms of, my health. And it kind of got me to this place of desperation in my life. I was looking kind of at a place of doom in my life. I was like not in a good place at all. And I was going through a rough breakup at the time from a relationship. I was, drinking alcohol a lot at the time. I was, just falling on my face. And so I realized that I needed to find healing, wellness. I needed to get on a path that was making healthier choices in my life. And so I started out with yoga. I found yoga, thank God. And yoga started to show me that it's possible to change my inner state, my inner world, through holistic wellness practices and meditation. And it went from yoga, and then I started working with shamanism. I took a whole shamanic apprenticeship and started working with plant medicine, like psychedelic plant medicine, and started doing men's work. And I was doing everything, float tanks and breath work and all kinds of things, right? And through that journey of just seeking wellness and healing, I discovered sound healing. And so sound healing immediately resonated with me. No, I guess it's a funny way to say that. Because it literally was resonating with me, but it was also resonating with me in the way of like, wow, this is amazing, because it had musical elements to it. And I had no idea that music and sound and vibration could have a healing effect on one's mind and body and spirit. Before that, I just thought music was for entertainment, right? And I didn't realize that it could have this profound effect on your nervous system, on your brain waves, on your whole entire being, your emotional body. And so that got me fascinated when I received it for the first time. And I went down this rabbit hole of learning about it, acquiring instruments, sort of this sort of self-training, and reading books about it, and taking some courses and that sort of thing. And then when I felt ready, I went out and I launched my first public sound bath event at a yoga studio that I was practicing at. It was also owned by a friend of mine. And it was pretty successful right off the bat in terms of attendance. And at the time I was working this like pretty low paying, not ideal warehouse job that I was just taking in the interim, right? And then I started to realize that sound healing, because it's a one-to-many healing practice rather than just a one-on-one healing modality like massage therapy or acupuncture or something like that, I could serve like 30, 40, 50 people all at the same time. And I realized that I can actually do this for a living, because if I can figure out how to fill these rooms on a regular basis, then I can make, more income in one night than an entire 40-hour work week at my job at the time. Right. So I was like, wow, that's when the light bulb went off, where I could find this sort of, I guess you could call it like Kigai, meaning what you enjoy, what you're good at, what the world needs, and what you can be paid for, right? And so this big light bulb moment went off. I'm like, this is what I can actually do for a career. And so I went on this journey and started to scale it up and find all kinds of different locations and partnership venues where I would host my events until I was doing like 10 to 15 events every month in my region where I live. And before I knew it, it wasn't a very long period of time before I was doing this full time. I didn't need to work at a job anymore, and I could just keep doing this thing that I was really enjoying and I still love to do to this day. And so that's what my academy is now all about. This is what I show sound healers how to basically copy my model and implement in their practice so that they can create this 6-figure per year income that shows you how to do it inside the Sound Healer Blueprint course.
Yeah, absolutely. And Mike, I'm curious to ask you about your definition of aspirational hope in life, my friend, and how you define, aspiration and hope, and how do you think that is interconnected to the work you do? What are your thoughts there, my friend?
I'm sorry, can you repeat that question? It just sort of cut out on my end a little bit.
Yeah, no problem. I wanted to know about your definition of how you define sort of aspirational hope in life and how it's interconnected to the work that you do. What are your thoughts there?
Yeah, I think that when you work hard and hustle, there's also something else that comes in on top of that that's more like in flow. It's almost like the universe can meet you halfway and start to present opportunities and unexpected gifts and people and resources and all these things that come onto the path as you start to walk down it. So I think that aspirational, visions and hopes that one might have is a lot easier when you love what you're doing. You're really into it and you're in sync with it. I think that if you're doing something that aligns with who you are and your true essence, that flow and these opportunities and doors open a lot easier than if it's something that you're kind of grinding and like trying to push yourself to do all the time. I find that there's a difference between push motivation and pull motivation, meaning when you have to push yourself to do something you don't really feel like doing, I don't know if that's sustainable over the long term. I feel like when I'm compelled to do something out of interest, out of intrigue, out of passion, out of just pure interest, it doesn't feel like it doesn't feel like work. It feels like a natural flow is occurring. And I think that might be the key to anything that someone wants to pursue is you have to feel compelled to do it. And it has to be beyond, I think, beyond just for money. I think that's also another key. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And Mike, I'm also curious to ask you about, the art and science of business and how those that run businesses who come to see you use this practice to sort of get back to their core center of beliefs and practices. How do you think it helps people you work with run better businesses? What are your thoughts there?
Are you referring to if people come to attend a sound bath?
Sure, we'll go with that. If people come to attend a sound bath or a sound healing session and they run businesses, how How do you hope to help them sort of reconnect with themselves or reconnect with their passion in life?
Right. I think sound healing has the ability to, yeah, give people a time of pause. We all are so busy, tasking away every day with our work, with social interactions, just making our way in the world requires us to be very much in our minds in our society. And I think that carving out this time to pause and tune inward gives people this expansive view of what's really important to them, right? It's a time to go inward and open the heart and get more into the body, and find that place within all of us to operate from. Again, like to not be going through your days so reactively, and being more in creation rather than reaction in one's life. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. And Mike, one of the questions I also had for you is, at least for myself, music, it elicits an emotional reaction, and sometimes it's happy, and sometimes it's sad. And I'm wondering your thoughts on how music and the sound healing process can contribute to our overall happiness in life. What are your thoughts there?
Yeah, like I said, if people can find the time once a day, a couple times a day, to carve out, to tune inward and use sound and music to alter their state into a more uplifted place, then all the things, the pressures of life, the doom and gloom of the news cycles, and all the things, like, that are pulling us out of our center, don't seem as strong, right? So I think that, yeah, music is a beautiful way to alter your emotional state, and same with sound healing.
Yeah, and just building on that, how do you think sound healing can help people improve their mental health? What are your thoughts there?
Oh, it's absolutely great for mental health. If someone has mental or emotional issues, like, say, they have struggle with ADHD, right? You come to a sound bath, it entrains your brain waves, and you can come out of it feeling much more focused and centered, right? That's why I think that companies out there should offer sound healing like midday through the work in the workplace. I've been hired to come into a lot of workplaces and offer a sound bath to employees. And it's a great way to bring people into that theta brainwave, bring them into a theta nap. You can also do this if you have something like Spotify. You can stream binaural beats, binaural frequencies that entrain your brain waves down into the theta brainwave, and it's called having a theta nap. And if you do that midway through the day, then you come out of it after 30 minutes or an hour or whatever, in a much more focused and energized way, rather than having that afternoon energy slump in your day. So that's just one example. But it can help with all kinds of mental health challenges that one might have. And yeah, sound and vibration has the power to entrain the brain waves, and make things more balanced in the mind. And therefore, when one has a balanced mind, then the unbalanced symptoms of mental health issues become more into alignment.
Yeah, absolutely. And, Mike, I also wanted to ask you about, if people are curious about sound baths or the sound healing process, what are some questions that you commonly answer to sort of put people in a state of understanding about how this process works and how it can benefit their lives. What are your thoughts there?
Yeah, I touched on it a little bit earlier, where um, a lot of people ask me, like there's a lot of phenomena that can happen. Like, I've heard a lot of feedback from people, like they they talked to their loved one that passed away really recently, or they had a communication. Um, there's people that say they have like visuals, like visions in the sound bath, or they see like um, different colors and mandala like kaleidoscope experiences and stuff. It seems to me like it's touching in on their, or opening up their pineal gland. So they have these sort of like dreamlike visions, or dimethyltryptamine like visions can occur. I've had people's nervous systems like completely release and let go, and they have these involuntary movements. People's emotions come to the surface that they haven't been addressing, right? Like where there's things that people, stuff under the, sweep under the rug, emotionally speaking. And, and then when they're in that place of pause and rest, like all the things that they haven't been addressing might come to the forefront or the surface, and they might have like tears and an emotional release in the session. So a lot of people ask me, why that, like why did that happen? So my explanation is, you're giving yourself a place of pause. It's a pause in your life where you get to just lie down, receive, the brain waves slow down, your aperture of consciousness starts to expand in these spaces. And therefore, all kinds of these occurrences can happen. And I always say that when I do a sound bath for 30 people, I'm going to have 30 different experiences happening all at the same time, because it depends on what the individual is coming into the space with, whether it's that day or that month or that year. It depends, or their whole entire life. It depends individually what each person has that they're carrying with them. And even though it's a collective experience for a group, usually there's individual experiences happening across all the people in the space. So yeah, I mean, common questions that people ask me are like, they're mostly like, people come up to me afterwards and they thank me first. That's another very enriching part of what I do. I love when people come up to me afterwards and they're like, thank you so much, that was amazing. Like I've never had a job in the past where people are like lining up to thank me, so that's very rewarding. And I love that feeling of seeing people come out of the experience, changed. Their whole being is different from when they entered the space. So I'm happy to have that impact. But a lot of the questions people ask me are about the specific instruments. A lot of people are like, what was that instrument that sounded like this? Or what was that instrument at the beginning or the end? Or what was the song you played at the very end? And that sort of thing. So those are the kinds of questions I get the majority of the time.
Yeah, and thanks for sharing that, Mike. And I also wanted to ask you how you believe that the concepts of personal growth and transformation are interconnected. What are your thoughts there?
Yeah, I think that your inner world equals your outer world. The roots become the fruits, I like to say. So the more inner work you do, personal development work, the more your external reality is going to change, right? So input equals output also, right? I think that what you feed your mind, what you look at with your eyes, what you hear with your ears, the people you surround yourself with have a huge impact on your perception of reality. And so, yeah, there can, I think that it's always wise to be reading the right books, be reading or listening to the right podcasts, listening to the right audiobooks, the right music, doing the right activities for your health, and surrounding yourself with like-minded, positive people that want to uplift you and want to see you do well. And I think that once you start getting onto that path of, wellness, healing, personal development, then the negative influences naturally start to fall away because they just don't resonate with you anymore, right? So if you're someone who is, you know, drinking alcohol or doing drugs, or you're surrounded by people that don't treat you well, or you're just like, you find yourself making poor decisions, and the outcomes in your life aren't what you feel like, you don't stack up and you don't feel like you are where you want to be in your life. I think it starts with the inner world first. I think once you start dealing with what's going on in yourself, in your shadow, in your psyche, your conditioning, your traumas, all that sort of thing, and start to bring that to light and heal that, then your external reality is going to change significantly.
Yeah, absolutely. And Mike, considering the work that you do, I'm also curious to ask you about your definition of emotional courage, and what do you think it means to have emotional courage in life, and how do you think that's tied to hope and inspiration? What are your thoughts there?
Emotional courage, yeah. I think emotional courage to me means being honest with myself, with where I'm at, and having resources and people that I trust, where I can be open and vulnerable and honest, who can hold space for me when I need them. And finding communities like that, finding people and allies where I don't feel like I have to feel like I have to put armor on and shield myself from being honest and vulnerable. And then whenever I am in these spaces and in these communities and with these people where I can just be honest and have the emotional courage to share where I'm at, then and be witnessed in that, then I find that there's a lot of power in that, in terms of transforming and transmuting any issues that I might be going through.
Yeah, and Mike, how do you think that people should look at the whole idea of taking ownership of their own life, and the importance of really knowing your value? What are your thoughts there?
Happening, like, a good question I ask is, what is my role in this scenario, right? Rather than trying to find someone or something else to blame, I ask myself, what was my role in creating all this? Or what was, how did I set this up? And was I being dishonest with myself or others? Was I being ignorant? Was I being naive? Like, what caused whatever issue is happening? And so, yeah, always keeping myself accountable to myself, and being brutally honest. Like, being in rigorous honesty about my role in things, and taking ownership of my decisions.
Yeah, and Mike, tell me, I'm a big believer in the importance of social capital and building community, and I know that your community of sound healers is important to your body. So tell me about the importance of building community and how important that is to your body.
Oh, community is everything, you know. You don't have to do it alone. And I find myself, embracing more and more community as I go forward on this journey. I lived a lot of my life feeling kind of like a lone wolf in the world, like a blade of grass in the wind, just, not knowing my place, not feeling like I fit in or belonged anywhere particular. And this journey of sound healing has completely transformed all that. Like I have an entirely new social sphere and community because of this modality of sound healing that I do. And I also think it's important to find people that are on a similar trajectory as you are, because these people are, going to encourage you, going to uplift you, and resonate with you. So it's important. I think we're social beings by nature. It's in our DNA, and I think too much isolation or too much self-reliance is not necessarily a healthy or positive thing.
Yeah, absolutely. And Mike, as we end the year, my friend, I'm also curious to ask you about your sense of optimism and what it means to you to have a sense of optimism in life, and how important is it that we all sort of adapt that mentality in life? What are your thoughts there?
Yeah, I think I think we all have our moments of feeling low in life. Sometimes that's okay. It's just important not to live there and stay there in the doldrums of the mind. I think it's good to be optimistic, of course, but and also just be realistic that sometimes there's going to be moments of challenge, and there's going to be moments of feeling not so motivated or what have you, and just embrace the seasons of life as they come. And again, going back to attachment, not attaching too deeply to the highs and lows that come and go, right? It's like weather. You just know that this too shall pass if anything's challenging in life. And it's interesting this time of year. We're right past the summer or the winter solstice, and the days are getting lighter. And I've been just sort of I've been sort of like pondering like the seasons of life and the changes in the year, and going with the cosmology of like shamanism, and realizing that what the darkest days, after the darkest day of the year, it's going to start getting lighter, right? It's always darkest before the dawn. Like things change, things are going to come back around again. And so in that way, even when life feels hard, you can still find optimism in that.
Yeah, absolutely. And Mike, I'm going to end on a two-part question, my friend. I know you're living out there in Vancouver, my friend, so I want to know what's the best part about being Canadian, my friend, and what do you enjoy about Canadian culture? And when you look at your life and your legacy, my friend, how do you want that to be defined?
Yeah, it's interesting. I'm actually a dual citizen, so I'm a U.S. citizen and a Canadian citizen, and I choose to live in Canada. I always found myself coming back to Canada because I think I prefer. I mean, there's obviously America is a huge country, so is Canada, but I really like this part of Canada in particular. I like the natural views, the beauty of the mountains, the trees, the forests, And yeah, I think Canadian culture and the US culture, although our economies are very similar and we all speak, North American English, and it seems like there's not too much of a difference between the two countries. I think they're vastly different in terms of our history and our culture. I think Canada is much more multicultural, where people from other parts of the world immigrate here and then they sort of stay in their culture. Whereas America, it seems that there's, a melting pot, they say, where people become Americanized and it just becomes, a nation. Rather, we have a very multicultural country in Canada, with a very diverse population. I don't know about, I wouldn't know how to define the culture of being Canadian, to be honest. I think there's just a whole bunch of different cultures living here. And I don't think we have as strong of a cultural identity as the United States seems to have cultivated since the founding fathers there.
Oh, well, we'll substitute cultural for diverse. How about that? Is that
Yeah,
better? That's better.
yeah.
So, Mike, tell me, when you look at your own legacy, buddy, how do you want your legacy to be defined from a personal and professional perspective? What are your thoughts there?
Interesting question. Well, I like to think I'm having some kind of butterfly effect in the world. I like what I'm doing not only with my events and my experiences that I offer in person. I know I'm having some impact there, but I also think that my academy that's training people how to create a business out of sound healing, I think that when they honor this as a business and create a structure around it, they're actually impacting more people. So what I love to see from my academy, SoundQuest Academy, is all over the world now, these sound healing facilitators are coming through the academy, learning how to impact more people. And that, I think, is having a ripple effect around the world in terms of healing people through sound. On a personal level, I think that I would like to be remembered as a good human being that had a big heart and had earnestness and was very curious and had a lot of different interests and experiences.
Yeah, absolutely. And finally, Mike, tell me if people want to get connected with you, what's the best way they can do that?
Yeah, they can follow me on Instagram at SoundQuest, and you can go to SoundQuest Academy if you are interested in turning your passion for sound healing into a thriving practice.
Well, my friend, I want to thank you for providing a space for this alternative health practice of sound healing to prosper and provide people with a sense of security and belonging within that social community. My friend, you're doing great work, and I want to thank you for the privilege of engaging in conversation with me this afternoon, and I want to thank you for being here. It's most appreciated.
Love it. Thank you so much for having me on, Kevin. Appreciate you.